Hey guys, Eli here. Welcome back to the channel and to another build. This one should look very familiar to you all. It is the Torendi Tower penthouse lot that comes with the original City Living expansion pack. I wanted to do a complete overhaul of the place and give it a whole new look, so I actually decided to add a third floor to it and make it a triplex. I noticed that there aren't too many triplex builds, and unless you're in London, Paris, Manhattan, or like any other major metropolitan city, you won't see too many triplexes. So I thought it was a unique perspective and a different take on, a classic lot. So taking that into consideration, I went around and messed with a bevy of themes, how I wanted to structure the inside after remodeling the outside, and I decided to go with like a modern futuristic theme. That's not something that you see very often, so I figured, it'll be unique to take, what I perceive to be futuristic and modern and bring that to the forefront. I've actually noticed a trend happening where it looks like a lot of simmers and builders are going back and giving the original Sims and lots makeovers and bringing them up to date and current. So I figured why not do the same thing for the Tyranny Tower penthouse. This one is in the prime location in the fashion district and it has views all over the city. So I figured, why not give this one a makeover? And because we are in the fashion district, I wanted to play off that theme and build this place up with a modern and futuristic type flair. When I think of a trendy and fashionable area, the first three words that come to my mind are trendy, minimalistic, and futuristic. It's like recognizing that your Sims are living in the most exclusive lot within the all eyes on me part of the city. And when you play on this lot, you bring your Sims to a place that's equal parts open and relaxing and entertaining and sort of a party haven as well. This place is where everything happens. It's less stuffy and snootier than Uptown, but it's also less eclectic than the Arts Quarter, so it was fun trying to find a happy medium between the two. And I honestly believe that this place is it. If I were to try to equate the fashion district to any neighborhood in Manhattan, I would have to say that it would be the Midtown to Uptown's Upper East Side, just because, as I mentioned before, it's the place where everything happens. It's the place where everyone goes to have a good time, to have a good party. It's more modern, it's more futuristic, and I definitely wanted this place to reflect that. And I believe that this one ended up becoming 6 bedrooms and 7 bathrooms deep, with like an indoor screening room, wine cellar, and plenty of indoor and outdoor spaces. I actually shot this one while I was still playing around, so the final result is not what you will see reflected on the build itself, but I definitely had a fun time trying to figure out how to place everything because I wanted to keep that open floor plan consistency. So I think I pulled inspiration from the Vanderwoodson's penthouse in Gossip Girl. I definitely loved how like the elevator opened into like the living room, the keeping room, the kitchen, the dining area, and like a gathering room. So I definitely wanted to maintain consistency with that. Obviously, you had to have like a lobby style area because Sims would show up to your place uninvited if you just have like the elevator opening up to the place, and that definitely causes a lot of problems at night. When your Sims are trying to get some sleep, you would hear random Sims just coming in, causing the ruckus, causing the scene. And I honestly think that us having to build like lobby-esque type areas outside, quote unquote, of the actual build itself took away from the appeal of living in a penthouse. I feel like, especially with all the penthouses that I've been in, you have the direct access to the space from the elevator, and it definitely gives more of the appeal of having like your own private elevator versus having an elevator that opens up into a lobby like you would see in most apartment buildings. I also didn't take into consideration how much living space the outdoor portion of this build had until I went to furnish it. I remember the original lot having like palm trees, bushes, like multicolored sidewalks, and I believe like an outdoor basketball court at one point, but none of those things fit into the theme that I was trying to bring in, so I took all them out. I remember trying to build a pool out there, but it didn't work out how I originally imagined it, so I scrapped that idea. I remember spending some time deciding between like different fountains and making one of those the central focus of the area. That way you get like, your water feel, but also you have like your entertainment space. but I don't remember the one I actually went with. I actually shot this one a couple weeks ago. Actually, I shot it before I shot the mid-century modern penthouse build that I released last week. Because this is more of an entertainer space, I wanted to add the grill, the futuristic dining set, the futuristic bar, and the speaker system, and I actually found a lot of those items within the fitness pack, like that coffee table that I used everywhere. I actually hesitated a bit about what I wanted where on the entry level of the apartment because I knew that all the bedrooms would be split between the second and third levels, but I also knew that once I started on the kitchen, dining room area, and the keeping room, everything else would fall into place. It was actually pretty easy for me to furnish the keeping area just because it's always the seating area that you would see upon immediately walking into the apartment. It's a place that, no one really sits in, it's just there for decoration, but why not have it? I also love that fireplace that I threw in there. It's very minimal, but it gets the job done. It's like a statement piece. I actually use that fireplace in a lot of my builds. Not the builds that you guys have seen, but the builds that I've done. I just love it. Like I thought that was probably like my favorite item in all the updates, all the packs, everything that Sims 4 has thrown us so far. Rolling with the minimalistic taste that I have, I use a lot of the steel colored countertops and appliances, as well as the glass dining table to sell that modern appeal. I thought that adding those party chairs from the luxury party pack would add a bit of poshness to the room, and it would be sort of different from what I'm used to doing. I refrained from adding any curtains to the windows because I thought that the views that you would get from any room adds to the mystique of living in a city. With most of the downstairs furnishings being white, any color that you would see would come from the pieces of art that I added. I couldn't find anything that represented anything close to being a backsplash for the kitchen area, so I thought it would be cool to take two different color patterns from the same wall tile and have them alternate on the walls. I remember juggling back and forth between the gray and white set and the black and white set, but I remember going with the former, the gray and white, white and gray pattern at the end of it. I remember trying to keep the walls of like the living room area intact and blending them in with curtains, not curtains, columns. I'm not sure what I was thinking when I thought that columns would work. I remember adding them to the living room spaces as well as a library in the den, but then I took them all out when I was done building this just because I ended up not liking them at all. I ended up finishing a lot of this build when I wasn't recording, so that one massive living room that I'm working on now ended up becoming three separate areas, including the keeping area from earlier, and plays heavy into the entertainment space. Like you have like your media center, and then you have like a gathering space, and then you have your keeping area, just to keep your guests at bay, whenever they are waiting on you to come down the stairs. No home would ever be complete without the inclusion of a den, an office, and a library. I use a lot of the furnishings from the fitness pack in those areas, as well as the items that you would normally have to reach a certain level in your career to unlock as well. Normally, these rooms would be closed off from each other, but I thought it would be better to keep the den area and the library open just to create the illusion that they are connected. Off those two rooms, you have the home office or HQ for those career-oriented sims. And one thing that I will always incorporate in any build that I do is the home theater. Personally, I love hosting movie nights, and I think that's probably the best way for anyone to remain social besides going to a party, going to a dinner, or going to any gatherings. And for this one, it's pretty ordinary. You just have like your typical theater system, leather chairs, the two counters with the popcorn machine, and the ice cream maker, which I thought was a nice inclusion to the game. The theater posters, and then the black walls, just because like most theaters are dark in theory, and you don't want to be distracted by any harsh lighting or like any lighting from the outside. So inclusion of the windows minus the curtains, I thought it was cool. Just whenever you're watching the movies at night, the only lights that you get are from the floor stars, from the hallway, or from the view outside. I actually added a wine cellar right beside the powder room that I'm currently building now. You don't see it in this build because it was something that I added later on, and I actually wasn't recording when I added it, but it was definitely a nice inclusion. It definitely added to the theme, the status of whoever lives in that home. Onto the upstairs living. There's nothing too spectacular about this place. It's basically like a replica of the other seating areas that I've done on the inside and outside of this build, except I included a grander piano and two different vases for the area. Once again, like when you live in a space this big, like no matter where you are, the focus is on the space itself and how you like make it look big. And I think the best way to make any space look big is to have less furniture. Like the sentiment of less is more really applies here, and not only here, but like in any room that you design. Each room has its own ensuite and walk-in closet. Out of the six, only two would be considered master suites. The masters have two closets instead of one, and I included one on the second level and one on the third, just because I've seen similar formats in homes before. And also, if you do decide to do away with the top level of the build, you will still have a master included in the space. I also wanted to make sure that each room had its own persona, and you will be able to see each design in the screenshots at the end of the build. Of course, this one will be available for download within the Community Creations tab. My origin ID will be down below in the description tab as well, so you guys can find and download this reno easily. Of course, let me know what you think down below, and I will see you guys next week with another build.
Ladies and gentlemen.